ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are all doing well tonight. This is Trisha with Insectopia. We've been going live and sketching every Thursday night and Sunday afternoon for months now, and I have been sincerely enjoying it and will likely continue to enjoy it, right? We are going to continue going and live streaming, and this has been a great time. Now, I am starting just a little bit early today because I have some Sphinx moths that I need to spread. This is This is a death's head Sphinx moth, and I have about. Let's see. There you go. Want it to refocus. There we go. It's actually death's head Sphinx moths. Alright. I have about 50 of these to spread, and I think that I'm going to be spreading them over the course of October, but I have to have the first about a dozen of them done by October, so I'm going to be spreading a couple of these with you tonight, and then after the illustration, it depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling super tired, we might just go to bed, but we might hang out and pin some more. That would be awesome. So, I have friends here. Yay! Hi, Susan. Yeah, Sphinx moths are absolutely gorgeous. Death's head Sphinx moths also will have a very kind of bright orange hind wing, and when we spread this wing, you'll see that. So, this coloration right here on the, I guess we might call this the pronotum on the top of the thorax. This is what we would consider that skull marking or that death head marking. It varies by species. I mean, it varies by individuals. This design will be this design will all be very similar, but you'll see some variation. Looks a little bit more like Pluto the dog. I see that. Yes. I think there are going to be others that are going to have more of a skull-like. And, Susan, you asked why so many all the same species. Yes. They are all in the same species, and they're all death head moths. The reason why it's so many, it's actually, this is, a side project. Someone is, paying me to spread moths for them, and so these are purchased by somebody else and given to me to spread. But I figured if I was going to be spreading all of these moths, I might as well share them with you and record them in the process. Alright, so the instruction I received was, yes, you can put the pin actually through their body, but please make sure to not mess up the skull design, because that's what people are really looking for. So, we made sure to put the pin kind of above that skull design. And I did go ahead, you want to look at if you hold the pin like this, you want to make sure that the body is at that 90 degrees, and it is. So, actually is starting to drag just a little bit. That's better. This specimen is very heavy. I'm afraid that it's going to, I'm afraid that this specimen in particular is going to spin on the pin. So I might suggest that we put a little bit of glue at the bottom, a little bit of glue on the bottom of the insect where it touches the pin, so that, the moth doesn't spin on the pin. So now I'm trying to kind of get the body down into the channel on my spreading board. sketching at around 10. That's our normal time for sketching, is 10 p.m. Eastern. I started just a little bit early because I wanted to spread these death heads, but if you'd like to sketch the death heads while we're talking, that would be great. Oh, man. I wasn't trying to outsmart you. I was respecting everyone's time because I know that, you know, we're coming to sketch and I needed to get this done also. So I figured I would just turn on the live stream while I was sitting here at my desk pinning. Now, I do put 2 cross pins to hold the abdomen in place while I'm moving the wings. I use very, very, very tiny little pins when I am moving my wings so that there's going to be, let's see, there's going to be a small puncture hole, but it's not going to be obvious to the naked eye. Come on, friend. So that is what the hind wing is going to look like. It's this very beautiful bright orange color. Need another... Yeah, that works. Okay. My wing is not moving as well as I want it to. So instead of using the pin, I'm going to be using forceps. And I'm going to pick up the wing just at the base here and pull it up. I need a little bit more space on my desk to do this. You didn't think they could be any more Halloween-y. Yeah, exactly. And I thought that this would be a really good way to kind of start off my Halloween season, too. Man, this wing, I may not have relaxed these moths enough. They might have to sit in my relaxation chamber another night. Need to sketch these guys alongside the buck moths. I am not sure I know what a buck moth looks like right off of the bat. Alright, so with my forceps, I was able to move that wing pretty well. So I'm going to go and grab the other side just with my forceps and see if this is going to be our process. Depending on the age of the moths, like how long they've been passed, and how well they're relaxed, I just don't want to rip any of the wings. Alright, now I believe, I thought I had a line at some point. There it is. I have this red line, and I'm going to use it so that I can see make sure that my wings are even. So ideally, we want our wings to be at 90-degree angle from the body. So if you made a horizontal line this way along the length of the body, and then you ran this horizontally. You want the wings to make a straight, the hind end of the forewing to make a straight line across. So to me, it's looking like the right wing is just a little bit high, so we're going to let it relax just a little bit, but not too much. Sometimes that even looks like just angling the pin in another direction without actually moving the entire wing. Because we want to make sure that the tops are mostly even also. So there we go. We've got our first wings up here. And now we want to grab our hind wings and pull them up too. Now, when we are looking at our hind wings, we're looking for a small box of veins. That's going to be kind of the strongest point in the wing. It's right about here. Ooh. Nope. We're going to just pull it. Pulling the wing makes me just a tiny bit nervous because when you pull the wing like that, you can rip it really, really easily. And I do not need to rip any of these wings. Now, this is that little glassine envelope that the moths came in, and I am going to cut it up. So if you cut these pieces off, this glassine envelope is made out of a material that doesn't wipe the scales off of the wings. So I can take a piece and cover the wings completely and press them down, and that way these wings will stay even. And I want to make sure the glassine envelope, I just took off some of the edges of it so that it was a nice flat surface. And now I'm going to just kind of cut it into strips that are usable size. So it looks like I'm going to cut it kind of like that. Now, what I'm going to do, let's see here. Doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doo. I want to raise, my hind wing is not high enough yet. It's not where I want it. So I want my hind wing, the tip of my wing, I want it to be all the way up here, kind of touching the front wing. So I do have some pulling left to do on that hind wing, but the hind wing is a lot more delicate. It's a lot more fragile than the front wing. So we have to be a lot more careful. Buck moths are silk moths. Small to Cecropia, still big, black and white. Ooh, that sounds pretty. Wow, they're beautiful. They're found in oak forests from Florida to New England and Texas to Kansas. Does that mean that you can find these here in Pennsylvania? I've never seen one before. I'm going to turn my moth sideways just a little bit because I'm left-handed. It's a little easier for me to work on it. right, so that is what I want our hind wing to look like. And that is the shape of the bottom of the wing. So I was just trying to get this point to tip up there. And so that I'm pretty happy with. We're going to take our piece of glassine envelope and we're going to put it over the entire wings. And I'm going to hold them down pretty good. And it doesn't matter if I press really hard because this glassine envelope is not going to wipe off any of the scales of my wings. So it's better actually to press hard and to get an even line because if these wings dry, these are going to be sold as display specimens rather than educational specimens. So we want to make sure that this piece of wax paper covers the entire wing and is nice and tight. Because when these wings dry, we don't want them to kind of, sometimes wings will become a little bit wavy. And that's all right in scientific collections for them to get the little bit of wave to them. I think it looks very natural looking. And so I'll just use 1 or 2 strands of envelope. But these are going to be in shadow boxes. So we want to make sure that they are nice and straight and flat. They pupate underground and emerge in late spring. Alright, this is how it's going to work this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of wax paper that will fit over the front and hind wings, and I'm going to kind of do this two-handed. I'm going to take my hind wing and I'm going to pull it up so that I need to grab it at a place where I can continue to hold it. Pull it up to where I want it, and then I'm going to put this paper over it. Because once we have a number of pins that are around the wings, the pins that are actually in the wings are not necessary anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this line. We don't need this right now. So I'm just going around and adding these pins to the surrounding edges of these wings. And it looks like there's a little bit of air bubble in the wax paper. So I'm going to back up a little bit, press it down, and then make sure that we are using a flat piece. There we go. Much better. And 1 pin at the very end for good measure. So these 3 that are very small and are actually going through the wings, I like to take those ones out because those ones, if they get bumped or moved, they could create a hole in the wing, and that is the last thing that we want. This paper was curled up just a little bit from being right next to that pin, so I'm just going to give you one more. There you go. Alright, so that is our first Death Head Sphinx moth all pinned up and ready to go. We're going to pull out another one and see what type of differences there's going to be. Oh, I wonder if they want the antenna pulled up. Let's look and see what the antenna look like. Alright, so luckily I was able to pull our antenna up pretty easily, so I'm going to go ahead and mount them. Just trying and keep them even and symmetrical. That's our #1 goal with insects. That's the same goal with sketching, too. We just want them symmetrical. There we go. Are there no pins at all in the wings now? They stay put just from the paper and the pins. Yes. At this point, there are no pins in the wings. The pins are only there to hold them initially or to help me pull the wings up. But then the paper and the pins surrounding the wings are going to be what helps keep my wings up and keeps them even. Now, sometimes you can see over here on my left hind wing, it did fall a little bit because it's not touching all the way up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in and I can leave those pins that are surrounding my front wing, but I did want to change that hind wing. So I'm going to use my forceps to grab our wing. Oh no, come back. Our wing is being pusky. Let's see. We're going to use a pin again. This wing should stay. Alright, so now I think I've got my wing about where I want it. We are surrounding our wing with these pins again, and we're hoping that it doesn't move down a little bit. Now, some people do leave their pins in the wings. I really prefer not to. If this wing moves again, I will have to. It's gonna be fine like that. Alrighty, let's put another Sphinx, Death's Head Sphinx moth. Let's see, I want to catch up. Oh, Robin, you missed pinning. Yeah, pinning is a great time. I like to, ooh, I think that this one looks more like a, I think that this one looks more like a skull. Or maybe, it may look like a skull, but it may not be a humanoid skull. Maybe it looks like a bird skull. It kind of looks like it has a beak. Alright, so this is our next friend here. So it still looks like it has the 2 eyes, but down here, instead of it being rounded, it almost looks like it has a beak. Alright, so I'm going to be going ahead and getting our moth all pinned up. We want to make sure, there's our good pins. We want to make sure that, at least for these specimens, my pin is going above that skull because I don't want to mess up the kind of the cool design of it. So I pin right above, even though if I was pinning these for a scientific collection, I would likely pin them right through the center of that. So I'm going ahead and kind of making sure that see how it's dragging a little bit? Its abdomen is a little bit low. I don't want it to be looking like that. So what I'm going to do, I almost imagine this is kind of like when the doctor who's taking your blood misses the vein. I'm going to take the pin out, but not out of the top, just out of the bottom. And I'm going to re-angle the pin and push it back through. So I'm not creating a new hole on the top. I'm just making sure that the pin is moving straight through the body. So now, when I hold it up to the camera here, you can see that the abdomen isn't dragging as much. And the body of our death heads fits right here into this central channel. It should. Her legs are a little bit big. There we go. I'm going to pre-cut some of this, some of my glassine envelope so that it's just what we need when we need it. So this moth has a very fat abdomen. Does that suggest it is female? Yes. That's what I would say it suggests. It likely suggests that it's female. This is only my second death head moth that I am pinning, so I can't tell you that I know right now the true differences between the males and the females. I would have to look it up myself. But I believe after I've done a handful of these, we'll be able to look at them and see a difference between the males and the females. The likely is going to be in the length of the antenna or in the size of the body. So, question, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be illustrating in about 10 minutes, which means we're probably going to finish this one up, maybe do one more, depending on if I get faster at it. If these ladies are, if these moths are being nice to me. But what do you want to sketch today? I was thinking maybe a walking stick, because we haven't done a walking stick, and they are kind of have a very unique body shape. But figured I would also leave it up to you, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to do the cross over the abdomen, and with these, it is so important because the specimens are a little bit older, so the they had to be relaxed, which means that their muscles are going to pull a little bit harder on the body. So we want the body to stay as straight as possible. I think it already turned. There we go. Pretty good. Would love to do a walking stick. Sounds great. We can do that. So something that I've done in the past that I might have to start doing for these specimens, it'll just depend on how easy this becomes. But I have in the past, instead of leaving the pin in the body, I will just use these kind of smaller squares to pin and hold the wing one at a time, and then I'll use a bigger one to cover it. So let's just leave this there and see what happens. Okay. So with this specimen, I think that where the wing is going to be straight, I think that where the wing is straight, the tip of the wing is actually going off of the spreading board. Yeah. I guess that's just going to happen for this friend here. The little tip of the wing is coming off of the spreading board. So sometimes, if it's enough, I will create kind of a little, like a cardstock holder so that it holds the wing straight. But that's such a small little piece, a little tip. I'm just going to have to remember not to bump the sides because I don't want to injure that tip either. So if I end up putting it in a box or something, I'm going to have to make sure I protect the edges. Now, when I was moving the hind wing for the last one, grabbing right in here where the hind wing muscles are and pulling it up seemed to work the best because you have a lot of control if you start right here over the entire wing. Just have to make sure you puncture the right part. There we go. Come on. And so now, by just moving this pin up and down, you see I have total control over the angle of this hind wing. So we're just going to move it as far up as we can without messing with the front wing. And then we're going to put a piece of wax paper right here so that we are holding that wing where we want it. Alright, I think the next time that I start spreading and pinning these, I'm going to have to use wider, I'm going to have to make the channels and the spreading boards wider, because their bodies are huge. It's wild how thick their abdomens are. Come on. It's like, you know, when you're relaxing butterflies and moths, sometimes the entire moth relaxes really well, and sometimes certain wings relax better than others. And this one seems to be just dry enough that it's being a little bit trickier. Watch me fight with this moth, but we're going to get it spread. And then we're going to see those gorgeous Halloween-colored hind wings. See how the base of the wing is wrinkling rather than opening? That's something that we see when the muscles are not all the way relaxed. So there are ways that we can get around that. One of those is by kind of lifting up the wing and then getting it just mobile again. And if you create enough of an angle on this pin, you can, in theory, then slide the wing along the pin to bring it up. See? There's all types of tips and tricks you can learn to make this easier. The other thing you could have are actual butterfly spreading forceps, which I don't know where mine are. There we go. It got there. All right, so finally I felt that muscle release. sometimes the muscles are so tight that you'll actually kind of feel them pop or feel them release as you're spreading the moths. And that one was definitely that case, because once I got it to where I wanted it to be, it just fell into place. And now the pin decided, there we go. There might be a little micro hole in that wing, a little, that hole on that wing might be a little larger than I wanted it to be. That is a possibility. It was from when it slipped that one last time. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, it is 10 o'clock. I'm just going to finish this last hind wing, and then we are going to completely switch gears, and I'm going to put away some of my spreading stuff really quick, and then we are going to be sketching. And I think we had already started to chat about what we were sketching. I pulled out a walking stick for us. I thought that that would be kind of fun. It's a different body shape than we've seen in the past, and there's all types of fun walking stick stories. Watch me fidget with these moths. So it's funny how that happens when you have the front wing is super difficult, but then the hind wing moves up easier than any of the other hind wings we've done all day long. I'm thankful. So I'm going to cut another piece of this glassine that's just a little bit smaller. I want it to fit between those two pins. And so sometimes, every now and again, as you can imagine, I accidentally drop an insect pin. And where I work, where I have my pins, my pinning collection, there is carpeting. So I try my hardest not to drop pins into the carpet. But I will admit, I have definitely stepped on at least one or two pins in the past. Alright, so we got two of them spread and taken care of. So I'm pretty happy with them. I'm going to get these pins off my desk so they don't fall into the carpet. Excuse me. Yay! So we have death head number 1, and we have death head number 2. And I didn't put the line across this one, but I was pretty sure that it was straight. Yeah. Straight. Love it. Alright, so we are changing gears. Changing gears. And doop, there we go. Now I've got paper. And I'm about to have a pencil. There's my pencil and my eraser. All right, we are talking about walking sticks today, ladies and gentlemen. You love the way the back of the hind wing is folded like a fan. Yes, I think that that is super cool also. And the design on the hind wing makes it almost obvious that it looks like a fan, because with the stripings and the lines. Very, very cool. Love them. All right. We're going to be sketching walking sticks today. Now, this walking stick in particular, I have not identified past that it is a walking stick, I'll admit. Walking sticks are in the order Phasmatodea. All right, Phasmatodea. So Phasmatodea are all of the walking sticks, but not just all of the walking sticks. It also includes insects like leaf insects. If you've seen them at insectariums or zoos, they look like green flat leaves. They are actually also a type of walking stick. They're in the same order. As you know, their common name would be a walking stick or a stick insect. Our specimen looks like this overall. All right. This is a male. He does have... this is a male. On the end, right about here, we're going to be zooming in on this part, but those are kind of claspers. He has these little claws on the back of his abdomen that helps for holding on to the female and helps in the mating process. And so that's what we're going to see on the end of male walking sticks are those claspers. We can see it's got a little bitty head and super long legs. These legs... All right, walking sticks, pinning a walking stick is very difficult because they have such long legs and they have such long bodies, and it's hard to decide what exactly you should do with all of the legs and all of the antennae and those types of things. I believe this was the first walking stick I ever pinned. It was in 2009. And so this was actually before my bug degree. Look at that. And I have two different walking sticks. I have this one pinned where its arms are kind of out, like he looks like, I don't know, he's ready to punch someone. And then I also pinned a walking stick that looks more like this, where I kind of tucked his legs in. And he also has this piece of paper underneath him that just kind of helps support him, but also just make sure he stays safe. This one, though, I think is the one we're going to sketch because we can see its body parts easier. And if we want, we can flip it over. So let's see. Now, as you might imagine, it is way too big to see the entire specimen underneath the microscope. But what I can do is take our ruler and run it up against the length of our body so you can see about the size that our specimen is. Let's see. Can I go down to about here? So, from the end of our abdomen to the front of our head... From the back of the abdomen to the front of the head, it looks like we are at about 7.2 centimeters. 7.2. He's almost 3 inches long. Yeah. This walking stick is almost 3 inches long. It's 7.2 centimeters for your nature journals. And then the antenna... the antennae are also crazy long. Now, walking sticks, a lot of times are going to have kind of shorter antennae. This guy, he's a little bit special. I don't have the ability to measure this one. To measure the antenna, because the antenna go curved and it's a little bit more difficult to measure that way without bumping the antenna and breaking it. So this is your chance right now to take a screenshot or take a picture of the image so that you can see the entire body at the same time. I'm going to be turning off this table dust cam and we're going to go back to looking at it under the microscope, also so that you can see me sketching. All right. Alrighty. So this friend, our walking stick here, he has a head, a fairly long. He he's pretty long in between his segments. And so the last time I sketched this walking stick with a student, what I did was I kind of helped us imagine how long we want our sketch to be first of all. So just kind of mark on your paper where you want the front of your head to be and then the back of your abdomen to be. So if we're looking at my paper here, I'm going to say I want kind of the front of my head to be here so that my antenna can be up and long. And then I want the back of my head, if I was drawing the back of my abdomen, if I was drawing a straight line, I'm thinking I want it... I'm going to make it the length of my pencil. And I'm going to kind of make a mark down here. Now, sometimes this sizing goes awry, but this is going to be kind of my super light outline that's going to give me an idea of the size and the ratios of our walking stick. Now, because he's so thin and he has such long legs, it's really easy to get him out of proportion, I will admit. So, what we're going to do is, if you look at from the front of the head to the back of the abdomen, about half of its length is the head and the thorax, and the other half is the abdomen. So I would say right about here where the third leg, the hind legs connect in, that's about halfway through. So if we look at our specimen, our sketch, make a mark at about halfway. I'm going to make 2 little circles on either side of my stick. That shows me where those hind legs are going to be coming out. Alright, so I've got my hind legs. I'm going to make an annotation up here in the front to say, alright, I think my head is going to be around about that size. Now my front legs are going to be connecting kind of right behind that head. So my front legs are about here and here. And then my middle legs, they are closer to the hind legs than the front legs, but just by a little. So if you kind of eyeball the in-between and then push it a little further back, that is going to be where your second pair or your middle pair of legs are. Alrighty, so that gives us a little something to work with. We know where the head is, the thorax is, the abdomen is, and where the legs come out. And that's it's gonna give us a guideline. I promise. Okay. I'm going to get my paper a little bit closer to you so you can see him a little bit better. And what I think I want to do is I want to kind of move our walking stick over just a little bit so that we can see more of the top of the head. The specimen, when it was pinned, it decided to turn his head sideways. Silly friend. Alright, so this is what our walking stick, or our Phasmatodea, our walking stick head looks like. It is, instead of it being this more basic circle, we're going to be erasing our kind of our placeholder, and we're going to be adding, let's see, what shape do I want to call that? It's kind of symmetrical on the sides and rounded U on the bottom. It's kind of like a horseshoe. So, this is kind of like a wide U where our head... Oh, and actually, keep in mind that your walking stick is a narrow insect. So as large as your head is, that's going to be the widest point on your walking stick, and it's going to get like mostly narrower from there. So let's see. Our head has parallel sides on the outside, but it's rounded on the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come all the way up here to the top, and I'm going to give us 1, 2. Those are our antennal. Those are where our antennae are going to be connected. And then, let's see. We have these 2 diagonal lines. But we also need to add this kind of upper lip of the walking sticks, and it's a little bit more difficult to see here. So, if we're looking right about here, you see how there's this U, it kind of cuts into the head right here, and then there are these 2 little triangles inside of it. Those, I believe that's all kind of part of the mouth. And so I wanted to make sure we added those in there. So when we do those diagonals up for the antennal sockets, and then we're going to give this a little U here, and we're going to add those 2 triangles inside of them, because that is going to be kind of a part of the mouth. Now, our antenna, as we know, have their own specific words or labels for the segments. So our first segment on our antenna is called the scape. It's that thicker basal segment that holds the antenna to the head. It tends to be very structural. It looks like that. Terry, move up. It looks like that. So that's our scape. S-C-A-P-E, and we're going to be coming up and making that kind of these barrel shapes. And then our pedestal is this next segment, is this segment right here. And, sorry, I need to get some of these pictures out of the way. There we go. Alright, so that next one up here is called the pedestal. A lot of times it's known for being a little bit more flexible. It has the ability to move a little bit. It's going to give the antenna a place to flex off of. So we've got the pedestal. Now the rest of the antennal segments are considered the flagellum. And if I was to scooch our specimen over just a little bit and really zoom in on the antenna, I thought, yeah. If I was just to scooch over and really focus in just on the antenna, you can see there are in different antennal segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see they move through here. They are not super, super defined, especially from far away. So if you wanted, we could wait to the very end, and then we will just kind of draw. We'll just kind of draw the swoosh of the antenna, and they'll probably go up and then back a little bit. And because they're going to be coming up and back a little bit, they're likely going to interact with the front pair of legs. So I'm going to leave them alone for now because I want to put them in last after the legs are taken care of. Now we do want to add in the eyeballs. Our beautiful compound eyes here. Now you can see the compound eyes, they do protrude from the head. So we've got the base, but we want to make sure that we add those eyes, and they are going to start inside of the head, and then you can make them circular and go outside of the line. And we want to make sure that those are as symmetrical as possible. But if they're not all the way symmetrical, you could argue that the walking stick's head is turned. Ha ha ha. Or just erase it and redo it like I'm going to do. All right, so we've got our eyes. I'm going to go ahead and add some cross-hatching in there so that it looks like they're real compound eyes. They've got lots of little itty-bitty segments. And I'm pretty happy with the head. We can, if we want, kind of add those darker bands on the outside of the head and maybe some of these banding on the middle. If you are into shading and coloring your specimen. Eyes bulge out to see threats in as many directions as possible, question mark? That might make sense. I could get behind that. There are a lot of insects that have their eyes that kind of bulge out. My guess is that you're right, is that they have the ability to kind of see behind them and in front of them, and that's why they kind of expand away from the head. But the walking stick isn't unique for this. There are many insects that have their compound eyes kind of protrude away from the head. But yeah, I think that that's about right, is that they want to see threats in many directions. My other guess would be that they are, walking sticks dance, so they kind of wave back and forth, like they're kind of waving in the wind. And it might have something to do with their depth perception too. Dragonflies. Yes, dragonflies have very special eyes. Oh man, I have a specimen that would love to make it for this eye conversation. I just collected a I think it's a tabanid. Yeah, I just collected a horsefly, like a big black horsefly. And its entire head is a compound eye. It's wild. I might have it within reach. I do! The question is, can I get it underneath the microscope without taking it off of the pinning board? Yes, I can. So this is the fly's head. Sorry, we are going, horseflies, yes. Horseflies and deerflies both can reflect really pretty colors. So this is the head of this deerfly, and it is entirely compound eyes. You can see where they meet in the center, and then they come back around. His head are two large compound eyes, and that's all that they are. I mean, that's really cool. So, wait. Can you zoom in as much as possible on the eyes? I can. So that was as much as possible. So the issue with zooming in super far is you end up losing light. You need even more light when you go super close. At a slight angle? Sure, we'll take them off. That's good. We can do this. not seeing hairs in between the eye components. The eye components are called ommatidia. Alright, so all of these individual lenses inside of a compound eye, they are considered ommatidia. That's the plural word for a singular ommatidium, which would be one of these facets inside of the larger compound eye. No problem. So there are no hairs, but the eye components are more circular than I expected. I expected them to be more hexagonal, but you can see they're more like circles that are stacked on top of each other. So cool. All right, so we're allowed to go on little eyeball tangents, but we're going to come back to our walking stick friend. Our walking stick friend deserves love too. So instead of doing the body and then coming back for the legs, we're going to do the insect from the front to the back, because walking sticks, it makes more sense just to do their legs when you get to them, because they are pretty much all legs. And then we'll get to the butts. But the legs, they're important. Actually, I'm going to write femur, tibia, tarsi, because those are our segments of our legs that we're going to be working on next. Let's see. I've got my head here. My pronotum, that's going to be our first segment. Oops, that's not Terry. Our pronotum is this section right here. It's that first segment of the thorax that the first pair of legs are connected to. So this segment is very much like a rounded box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. It is not wider than the head. Well, it's about the width of the head, just not wider than the eyes. So I'm going to come in here and let's see. It looks like it's a little bit shorter than the head. So probably about like this. Alright, so I've got my little pronotum here, and it's rounded. And I'm going to make it just a little bit longer because I want it to be more shaped like a rectangle than a square. Alright, now these first segments that are coming out of the body, these ones that are a little darker brown, so this one here and then this one here, that's actually going to be our hip bone. So those are actually called the coccyx. There we go. So the coccyx are kind of those hip bones right here. And then the femur is where it starts to be green. This specimen used to have very bright green legs. The bright green colors on walking sticks do fade, unfortunately. Alright, so I've got my coccyx here and on one, and I'm going to draw the second one. And I just made it kind of narrow down to something more like this. And I added some rings onto it because those aren't full segments. There are some textures in there. So that's just what I did. Now, it's amazing how much the leg joints look like the nodes on a twig, right? So if you look right here at the coccyx segments, they are not just like a normal square or rectangular segment. Those look like a leaf stuck to the twig right there. It looks like a node. Now, here's another thing to notice. I know that us as nature journalers, we really like to look at the fine, fine details of things, and I super appreciate that. You notice a funny shape on the front leg? Its front leg isn't straight. from the coccyx going out in this direction, it doesn't go straight. There's this U shape in it. Now, there is a purpose to that U shape, and I do know it. I am curious if any of you can think it through and maybe come up with it. So I'm not going to tell you just yet. I want you to think about it. Why would there be a U shape? And it's on both legs, here and here. Fun stuff. It is very convincing. All right. Let's see. Our legs, I want to make our walking stick look alive. I want to make it look like it's walking. So my front legs, I want to give myself some stick legs just to give an idea of how long the legs are going to be. So I'm going to come out with my femur. I'm going to come down with my tibia. And then this way is going to be my tarsal segments. And I'm hopefully, well, you know what? I'm only going to be drawing one side of the legs. Why not? We're doing a lot of talking. Alrighty. So that's going to be kind of my first pair of legs. My second and third are going to be more like something like that. Alright. So they are a pigmented coloration. Yes, Avea, exactly. The green and brown fade on walking sticks, and therefore they use pigmented colors rather than structural colors. They fade over time. This little notch, get this. Walking sticks, when they get scared, when they're trying to pretend that they're a stick, all right, they actually will stand on 4 legs, not on 6. So they will stand, like, let's imagine a little stick insect. We've got a little line here. They'll have their middle legs and their hind legs that they're standing on, and then they've got a head, and their front legs, they hold directly in front of themselves, like this. So that they pretend that they're a stick, so that they don't have that angry kind of knob at the end of their body. Their head blends in completely to their stick shape. All right? In fact, why the curve in the leg? That is exactly what I'm going for. The curve in the leg is not for springiness. It's so that when they put their legs over their heads match in to those circles, and it surrounds their head completely, and their legs connect evenly in front of their head and continue forward. There is no separation between the front of their head and their legs when they... Yes, the curve is to make a space for the head. So when my legs go straight, the head gets surrounded by the legs this way and comes up straight. That's exactly what they're for. Alright, so we know that there is going to be this fancy curve like in our front leg that will magically just align with the size of the head. So that one is a little bit trickier. Try your best. I tried mine. So there's this curve in the front leg that will match evenly with the head. And then let's go and scoosh our specimen and see if we can see the tibia. So happy that I'm able to continue to use these specimens for education, even my super old specimens that I pinned and spread a long time ago. I'm really afraid of breaking them. Man. So this walking stick's front legs are crossed. He's sitting like this. And look at his face. Oh, man. We're going to zoom in on that angry face. Oh, Mr. Grumpy Gills. Look at those complex mouth parts. This is about the scariest view of this walking stick I've seen so far. If we look right about here and here, those are labial and maxillary palps. Those are our mouth fingers that help our walking stick kind of push leaves into his mouth. We're also going to have right here on the edge, those are going to be mandibles. There's so many cool parts happening there. Yeah, this right here, you can see that straight line. That's the base of its mandible, and it comes through this way. Hi, Chaos! It's not a bug, it's a Star Wars character. I would have to agree, that face looked very Star Wars-esque. Alright, so we are going to do our best with sketching our front legs, and then we will be able to see the tarsal segments a little bit better when we move further back to the middle and the hind legs. He just really wanted to cross his arms and twist his tibia, or twist his tarsi all up. I'm getting rid of Coxie because we've seen those already, and it makes my words too long. I don't like it. What are we sketching today? We are sketching a walking stick. Phasmatodea. This is a specimen, this is a walking stick specimen that was collected in 2009 in Michigan. So our tibia is pretty long, and we're going to bring it down towards the head, more like that. And then our tarsal segments are going to be moving up, and they're going to be getting interrupted by my, by its name, but that's okay. So, if we zoom in, I know. Right there. That's the best view of the tarsal segment. So we got the tibia figured out. The tarsi start right here. And there's one segment, two tarsal segments. And then I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe it's 4. I would be mistaken, it's 5. I will show you how they are. It's curled in this way. Oh, the cows of the insect world. Well, I mean, they do eat a lot of vegetation, but couldn't you argue that caterpillars also eat a lot of vegetation? It's going to be Phasmatodea. We'll just skip the T and the A. Alright, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, on our tarsal segments, we have a long, thin rectangle, one that's about half that size, and another that's about half that size. So 1, 2, 3 that get progressively smaller. And then we have a little triangular segment that's connected to a water droplet shaped one with 2 tarsal claws. So if I was going to zoom in on that, I would say this is the end of the third segment, the fourth segment, and then the fifth segment. So that's how I would end it. 3, 4, 5. Just very small. When pigs fly. Never seen a cow grow wings. Now, something that I find kind of interesting about this walking stick specimen, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to focus this way. Yes. So we have a little bit of striping on our middle leg. Our middle leg is very structural. It's very sturdy. Keep in mind that when my walking stick is hiding and its front legs are up, its middle legs become the front pair of legs that are actually holding the ground, right? They have to be fairly solid. Now, once I turn this on, I can scooch this specimen back over. There is a significant difference in the length of the legs between the front and the middle legs. Our front legs are super, super long, and that's so that my walking stick can pretend to be as long of a stick as possible. All right, it wants to be a super, super, super long stick, and it goes, and it tries really, really, really hard. All right, now my middle legs are about half the length. Really, you can see the femurs don't come out as far, the tibia are shorter, and all of the tarsal segments are shorter. The whole body part is shorter, but they are also more stout. You can see that those middle legs are nice and wide. They've got a lot of muscle. I would argue that the middle legs is where a lot of the dancing comes from, or the movement back and forth. So they need to have those legs to kind of stabilize themselves. So, yep. That's my thing on the middle legs. What is the overall length of the specimen? This walking stick is almost 3 inches long. It measured in at 7.2 centimeters. I think that would be great. We definitely need a stick mimicking competition, and then we need people to come and tell us like which one they think are sticks and which ones are insects. And we have to mix in real sticks too. Alright, so I just wanted to show you this before we got going on the middle leg, because I realized that I didn't. So we do have the overall length of our specimen and where we want it to be. I think I started my specimen just a little bit too wide. Whoops. Because I think it really should be about half as wide. Because admittedly, I think that my middle legs, if I was going by the length of my body so far, I'm going to push my middle legs about 1/2 inch. My abdomen might go off the paper, but my specimen will look a little neater. So from our pronotum, we're going to make our body go narrow and then come out a little bit. You can kind of solidify that line, making it a little bit more solid. And then we're going to scooch our specimen. All right. Bye, Robin. It was nice to hang out with you for a little bit. I hit myself in the face. All right. So we've got this segment. I'm gonna create this line. This is going to be where, let's see, there's this line right here. That's this line here. All right, so we've got the coxal segments. We're going to do the femur, the tibia, and then you can actually also see the tarsal segments here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so the first one is the only one you can't see, and it's long and thin and starts right about here, ratio-wise. So it goes this way. And you can see how this one is kind of triangular, and this last one, tarsal segment number 5, is more like that raindrop shape. So, all right, I'm going to start my coxy right about here. Let's see. It's surprisingly small to hear that. Yes, walking sticks have an incomplete metamorphosis. They do not have a pupal stage. Although, not all walking sticks just walk. There are many walking sticks out there in the world that do have wings. Most of the time, when walking sticks have wings, it's the males that have the wings. There's many species out there where the males have wings and can fly, and the females do not have wings, and then they cannot fly. But that also means that the ladies get to be kind of lazy, I say. They get to sit around and they get to eat food and collect nutrients that they're going to need for their babies. Whereas the males actually have to go out and hunt for the ladies. They have to, you know, fly around and find someone to mate with. Whereas the ladies just stay in one place and wait for a boy to come to them. So I don't know. I think the ladies have it made. Even though they don't get wings and they can't really fly. That's kind of sad. You thinking I should pin a real stick next to my walking stick? That would be so funny. All right, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to give myself a line. I'm trying to decide, you know, it just looks backwards. That's going to be how it has to be. So my femur is going to come up and then down and then out again. So that's how I was trying to make it look like my walking stick was actually walking. And getting this angle right was kind of messing with my head. Give me 2 moments. So if my walking stick is doop, 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 doop. That's going to be better. All right, so I have decided on, actually, it's funny enough, the angle on my front leg is going to exactly match my angle on my middle leg. So I just kind of paralleled it down. I didn't even notice that until I saw it. So we've got that central line for my leg, and at the kneecap area, there are kind of 2 spines where the tibia connects in, and it gets a little bit narrower before coming back out, and then narrows again at the base. Something like that. I might make mine just a little bit less strong. I'm in the process of making a fat walking stick on accident. I think all of his body parts are just a little bit too wide. That's fine. So we've got our femur taken care of. Our tibia is next. This tibia is actually coming down from this joint. So sometimes, especially when I'm looking at it this way, I'm going to give myself a little half circle here. And then that half circle is going to be where I continue it down from. So then my tibia is going to be coming down in this direction. And then we've got tarsal segments. Those are our toes, and I want them to come out this way. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. claws. Alright, so we've got our front leg that's super, super long, our middle leg that's about half that long, and let's go back to our body and check this out. So between our middle and our hind legs, we once again have a narrowing in the body. Now, because I moved my middle legs back a little bit, I'm also going to be moving my hind legs back some. Which also means my abdomen is going off the paper. Which means my male genitalia is going off the paper. Darn it! That's fine. I'll draw it somewhere else on the page. That's just how it'll go. Alright, so I've got my next segment taken care of, and we're going to go and look at this leg. I have a question from Susan. She says, would a fat walking stick just be mimicking a twig that had a gall in the stem? Maybe. There's a large walking stick in Australia called the Australian walking stick. Some people call it the spiny stick insect. It is regularly found in the pet industry in the United States, although they are illegal to own because you need a containment facility to own them. They are a really cool type of walking stick, and they lay eggs that have a mutualistic relationship with ants in Australia. Alright, so this is the femur of our hind leg. It's so difficult because when we're looking at these types of things, the insect is so narrow and long that it's hard to get like a shot far enough out where you can see the whole part. Yes, so there is an Australian walking stick. Now, you can always go and look at pictures of these on your own. I don't think I have any pictures that I took myself, so I don't have the ability to share any with you without giving like copyright, like who took them. But the adult female lays an egg that has this little node on the end of it. We call it a node. Some people, you could call it a knob, but they're this barrel-shaped egg, and then they have this little node on the top of them. And to an ant, these eggs, when they fall to the ground, ants think that they're seeds. So the ants pick them up thinking that they're food. They take them all the way back to their home, all the way back to their colony, and then they eat just this little part up here. They eat just the node up here on the top. And the rest of the egg, they see as garbage. So they throw the rest of the egg into their garbage pile. So ants have individual rooms. They have rooms for all of their different things, right? So they have a room for eggs, and they have a room for babies, and they have, all types of different rooms that have their own purposes. They also have garbage rooms where they just have a whole cell, and that's where they put their garbage. Well, these eggs end up in their garbage piles, and they just leave them alone because they figure they're seeds. They're not. But they think that they're seeds, and they're just going to do what they do. And then the egg hatches. And the baby walking stick, the first instar, is actually, it has a red head and a black body, just like the ants do. So the nymph of the walking stick is actually an ant mimic. All right. And so as my walking stick is mimicking the ants. They'll run out of the burrow, and then they can climb a tree, and then when they start feeding on leaves and the like, they will turn over to their brown boring color. So that's how that happens. It's mutualistic because the eggs help the ants by giving them a little bit of food, and the ants help the eggs because they are hiding them in their burrow. They're protecting them from predators. Alrighty. So, the end of our abdomen. Our abdomen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 segments. Now, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 6 segments of my walking stick abdomen are all basically the same size. So if you take your abdomen and you divide it into 6 even segments, then we'll be able to add the 3 segments on at the end that are kind of more small. Deep Look YouTube channel has a video on that. That's nifty. I do too. I actually drew a whole video about the Australian walking stick. But I think Deep Looks has real life footage, which is super cool, whereas mine is just hand sketches. Alright, so my sixth abdominal segment just went off the paper, but that's fine because I'm just gonna finish 6 up here, and then I'm gonna do 7, 8, 9 over here. I'll give myself a little arrow. That's fine. They are super cool and spiky looking. The females are scorpion mimics because they hold their tails over their head, but they also look like, to me, they look like a dried leaf, kind of like they're brown and they're kind of curled up that way. Now, the males have wings and can fly, so at least with those spiny stick insects or those Australian walking sticks, the males in that species can fly. Alright, so this segment right here is 6, and this is 7, 8, 9. So these are 3 significantly smaller segments than the rest of them. And you can see this right here that's kind of overlapping itself. Those are actually the claspers. When he's alive, they will regularly kind of meet like this, and they almost will be out a little bit. His kind of crossed over. Both are normal, but I think I might draw mine like this. Aw, thank you, Chaos. Yes, sketching better than footage. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to go to Australia to view that mutualistic relationship in person yet. You know, one of these days I will go over there and try to find it. Alright, so this would be 7, 8, 9, and then I think I need to make 8 a little bit more narrow. Yeah, that's better. 7, 8, 9. And then the claws. at the end. I am pretty happy with our walking stick so far. I'm going to get our specimen back over into its safer container. There we go. And I want to look at its overall antennal length. We're going to turn the table camera on for a minute. We're looking at the overall length of the antenna. So it looks like... Honestly, I want to believe that the antennae are almost... I'm going to do it on my computer screen. I think that the antenna segments are almost the entire length of the body, maybe just a little bit shorter. But if you were to take those antennae and actually stretch them from the head and turn them all the way back, I think that those antennae could reach the back of the abdomen. That's pretty cool. But because it's up and arched, it's going to take up, it's going to look like they are just a little bit shorter, right? So on my specimen, I'm going to start my antenna here at our scape, and I'm going to bring it around and then kind of swoop it out. It's probably going to be about like that. Let's see. Or like that. I'm okay with that. So my first line is going to give me an idea of where my antennal segments are going. The antenna segments are so thin through the flagellum that you're able to make a very curved line. And then wherever we're going through things like legs, the antenna is going to be on top. So this is my inside line, and I'm going to be erasing some of these legs just on the outside of this line so that I don't have to come back and erase and mess up the antenna. Alright, so now I've got some of those spaces ready, and I'm going to start here. And my goal is to keep the antenna as smooth and as even as possible, and then while also narrowing at the end. Like that. And then you can come back in if you erased a little bit too far and bring those lines back to where they belong. The antenna might even almost be able to be a little bit longer, but I stopped it there. I'm pretty happy with it. Probably could have been out more. That's okay. I'm happy with my walking stick. I think my walking stick did go off the paper a little bit. It's, you know, the reason why is because I started the head too wide. When I started the head really wide, I started basing all of my other measurements off of the head, and the rest of the body became wide enough that it started elongating. Kind of like when you're in Word and you lock the aspect ratio, so when it gets wider, it also gets longer. That's what happened. I locked my aspect ratio, and then everything went wonky. Let's see. Even if it's less twig-like. Exactly. Now, walking sticks, a lot of times, they like to feed on brambles. So they really like to eat things like rose bushes. They like raspberry bushes. They like a lot of those bushes with thorns. And there are some walking sticks that prefer ivy. So those are the types of plants that you would find these guys on. If you have a blueberry patch, for instance, in your backyard, or a wild blueberry patch that you know of, the walking sticks will likely be around there because that's their food source. And especially when they can find their food source wild, away from people and away from agriculture, that's what they're going to love. People are afraid of walking sticks as agricultural pests, which is why you're not allowed to own walking sticks unless you have a containment facility, because people are so afraid of them getting out and wreaking havoc on agriculture. Ooh, search the rubus. Yes, exactly. Search the rubus. What time of year are they out? They're out through spring and summer. So they'll be out in springtime. Let's see. Their eggs are the life stage that generally overwinters. So right now, in the fall, you would have adults dying off. So you could find some adults out and about right now, but kind of like praying mantids right now, you can find praying mantids, but they're regularly at the end of their life cycle because you're the end of September, we're into fall. The walking sticks right now will be mostly eggs. In the spring they hatch, and they'll hatch. Here in Pennsylvania, they're going to be hatching, let's see, May-ish, mid-May-ish, and then pretty much right as the rose and the raspberries are starting to leaf out, that's when the eggs are going to be hatching, because that's when they have a food source. All right, so they try to align themselves with the plants. So if you're watching and you see those plants start to leaf out, you're likely also going to have the little itty-bitty baby walking sticks. But when they're little itty-bitty babies, they're really hard to find. Really, really hard to find. It's way easier when they're a little older. So in the early spring, you can find them, but they'll be itty-bitty tiny. I would personally wait till midsummer, because then they're going to be pretty large, and you might even be able to find some mating pairs. They've probably seen you. Exactly. I laugh because I have seen a handful of walking sticks, but I grew up on a raspberry field, so every now and again we would find walking sticks in our raspberries, and they were never a problem to our plants. They never grew out of control or anything. So me and my family, we always enjoyed seeing the walking sticks, so we let them exist in the raspberries even though they were eating some of the leaves. I guess that's true, Chaos. We are the ones creating gourmet, all-you-can-eat buffets out there called agriculture. Quick and somewhat unrelated question. Oops. Oh, it's totally not unrelated. It is totally related. Avea's asking if I've put my Sunday bug events on the calendar on Jack's calendar yet. And I have not. I really need to do that. I'm going to be putting that. I will write that down right now in one of my sticky notes. Where'd the sticky notes go? I'll write it on this paper. Alrighty. I do need to add the Sunday sessions to Jack's calendar for sure. The Sunday sessions still are pretty minimally attended. We don't have a lot of individuals, and the people who do attend generally aren't as chatty and fun as you guys who join me on Thursday nights. I've had a couple of suggestions to change the time on Sunday to maybe something even earlier than 4. And so I've been considering that, but yes, I do need to just get it onto the calendar to see if maybe I can attract some more people to that time. I appreciate that, Avea. And actually, actually, while we are on the subject, I'm going to switch over to my closer because I know we are closing in on time. All right. And on that topic of... Boop, 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 I'm growing. I'm shrinking. I'm growing. All right, here we go. And on the topic of live streams and classes and the sort, I have so much bug-related stuff to do at my desk in the month of October. I have so many bug-related things that I have to do at my desk in the month of October. Firstly, I have another 48 Death's Head Sphinx moths to pin and spread, so those are going to take me a little bit of time. And I've been really wanting to build that coloring book out of the sketches that we've done together, but I need to turn them into ink images rather than pencils so that I can get them into the computer better. So what I'm thinking is probably at this time, I'm thinking at 10 p.m. Eastern, which would be 7 p.m. for you guys. Yeah. I'm thinking at 10 p.m. Eastern and every day in October, except Sundays when I live stream earlier. I think that we're going to do Inverttober. I think I've been doing so much thinking about it because I know that it's going to be a lot of time, but I feel like it would also be so much fun, and because I'm going to be here at my desk anyway, kind of spreading moths and doing pin and ink and those types of things, we're not going to be sketching a new insect every day of October, but I do believe I'll be able to live stream every day in October, and obviously you guys don't have to join me every day, but that means that you can join me as many days as you want, which should be fun. And it'll give me an idea as to who is available on what days and which days are the most popular. I know that Thursdays are really great, which has been a lot of fun. But I am curious about how well attended some of the other days will be, just out of curiosity. Pure curiosity. Plus, you know me, I like to stay busy and stay active. I do plan on making a graphic and describing what we're going to do. Now, I have until October 1st to get that out. So I should be posting a graphic tomorrow about the ideas behind what we're doing. And then you'll just have to check in with the live stream to see what the activity is of the day, whether we are doing ink drawings or whether we're doing spreading moths. They may vary in time. Some of them may be longer than others. We'll see. We're going to just make a party out of it. I think that it is going to be so much fun. And yes, I definitely need to announce it in Jack's classes. So, maybe I will put Inverttober on the Jack Law's calendar. I have to come up with that. Those are 2 things that I'm going to be doing between now and October 1st, is coming up with an Inverttober graphic and then getting the rest of my events on Jack's calendar so that we can continue to find more bug lovers. Oh, that would be awesome, Avea! Yay! Yes! Exactly! I laughed about it too! Inktober and Inverttober together at last! We could even call it Inkverttober! We're not calling it Inkverttober. We could call it Inkverttober. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. But Inktober. I've already, just saying that, I know what the graphic looks like in my head. I'm going to put ink blotches on it, and we're going to put, like, Halloween creepy stuff on it. Oh, man, it's going to be so cool. Why not? You're right. Constant turmoil. Exactly. Yeah. I think I'm going to be posting the events on the calendar, and then I'll go ahead and I'll post the graphic in the Facebook group so that people can see it and know about it and stuff. And the Death Head Moth should definitely be the mascot for Inktober, because we are going to be spreading so many of them in the month of October. I want to try and get them done, which means ideally at least 2 a day, or more on one day. Maybe I'll pick a day of the week and I'll do them like every Tuesday or something. We'll see what happens. Rosemary Moscow. Who is this? Have I met Rosemary yet? Yeah, the Death Head's moth is definitely the spookiest moth. And it's got a skull on its back, so that's nifty. Alright, so... Oh, yes! Yes, I do know Rosemary Moscow. I was looking at some of her things from the Jack Law's Nature, from the conference. Wild Wonders. She did a Wild Wonders workshop. I was so busy. I felt bad because I didn't attend, but I read and watched and looked at a lot of the work that people were putting out from that conference, and I was a little bit sad that I didn't attend. I really should have. I just was falling so far behind on a handful of other projects. I just couldn't. She likes invertebrates. Got it. What's your thoughts on reduction in biodiversity and climate change? I would say that it is super duper duper sad. I think that if the question is, do I think that climate change is reducing biodiversity, I would definitely say yes. I would say climate change is having a huge effect not only on our wind patterns and our water and the temperatures around the world and environmental factors, but it is also changing what we call degree days, or the speed at which insects develop, and it's changing the speed at which plants develop. And plants and insects are so tightly woven that when one of them goes off of its calendar, then like if you have an insect that emerges too early and the plant hasn't started putting out its leaves yet, those insects will die because they don't have their food source yet. And that's only one example. You have many, many examples over the course of the natural world where climate change is creating this like miscommunication essentially between multiple species, because they're all basing their growth on temperature, and the temperature is changing and being wonky. Whenever I think about climate change and I think about the state of our planet, I cry. So we're not going to talk too much about it because I don't know what we're going to do about it. Naturalists and scientists have been warning people about the planet since the 70s, and we're still trying to get people to be more like you guys and appreciate the natural world, right? So I appreciate all of you out there who are sharing this beautiful message of loving insects, even though they are maybe a little bit unloved on this planet, or loving nature in general, going out there, looking closely at the world around us. I think that if more people did that, we would have more people that cared about the state of our planet. Yeah. Oh, good. Aw. Yay! All right, so... Yeah, I don't know about finding solutions now. I feel like the solutions needed to come like 30 years ago. But maybe we'll come up with something that is absolutely extraordinary. Maybe we will stop pulling oil and gas out of the planet to make plastic poppers. Oh my goodness, those little rubber plopper things, they drive me up a wall. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we... Yeah, exactly. You know, we do what we can individually. We try to minimize our own carbon footprint. We try to minimize our own effect, our own effects on planet Earth, and hopefully we'll be able to, you know, survive. That's all. Hopefully the planet can bounce back. Now, I teach on a platform called OutSchool. OutSchool is just for kids, though. So I know that you all have heard this a million times, but if there's someone out there who hasn't heard this, OutSchool is for kids 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and I teach classes there weekly, where it's kind of a weekly insect studies. The classes are through Zoom, so the students do get to see each other, they get to interact, and they get to meet bug lovers, not just from their own town, but from around the world. I have students from China to Hawaii and Canada to Florida, I think is my Texas, Canada to Texas. So I have students all over the world, and they're all bug lovers, and it is so much fun to sit down and chat with other students, especially if you know a young bug lover in your life that might not know any other people who love bugs, right? Get them to a place that they can meet and talk to other bug lovers so they don't feel so alone. All right, that is your reminder to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I believe all of you already have, but if you have not, go ahead and click the subscribe button. You can hit the notification bell so that you know when I go live. And when I go live on accident. That was you, Chaos. You were there right first thing when I went live on accident about 2 days ago. My Insectopia, my YouTube channel, was live for 30 hours without me noticing. I think one of the cats walked over the keyboard and clicked go live. That's what I think happened. I think the cats did it. That right there, that little QR code right about there, that links directly to my PayPal. That is where you can show me appreciation for what we do here. If you laughed and smiled, if you enjoyed something that we talked about today, if you learned something, you can go ahead and drop me a couple dollars, buy me a coffee. It's super, super appreciated. I need it sometimes. All right. And if you're having a hard time finding me at Insectopia on any social media, it's because I'm actually at Insectopia 2015. That is the year that I established Insectopia as a name, and that's what the hashtag is on both Instagram and Facebook. So that's where you can find me. And yes, cats create chaos, and my cats made my YouTube channel go live, and it was just live on a blank screen for like 30 hours, and so I hope nothing crazy went on, but I just went ahead and deleted the video. Alright, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for spending your Thursday night with me. Cats know the secrets to the universe. Seriously, my cat Misty, she looks over me, and I swear she understands me when I speak to her. I swear she does. All right, so thank you so much. I had a wonderful day here, sketching this walking stick, looking at it closely, talking about some of its body parts. I don't know much about their identification down into species, so that would be something I definitely would want to look at. I believe that coloration probably has something to do with it. The genitalia and the mouth parts seemed very unique to me. So those are characteristics that I would believe are characteristics that would help you identify it further. But I would definitely have to look at a key and see what they were using to determine. So, love it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Admittedly, I did not get the Death's Head Sphinx Moths pinned that I needed to. This is the end of our normally televised live stream. But what I think I'm going to do... Where'd it go? There it is. What I think I'm going to do is pin 1 or 2 more Death's Heads. I want to finish this board at least. So we've got 1. And you guys can head off if you'd like. If you want, you can hang out with me as long as you'd like. We're just going to pin some Death's Head Sphinx Moths. Because I need to have about a dozen of these done by October 1st, which is Saturday. There is our Sphinx Moth number 2. And this is where the 3rd one is going. Aw, yay! I love these nights with you guys too. I really appreciate having, you know, other nature lovers and other people that I can speak to about insects in a way that, you know, I can get all excited and bubbly about, you know. So many people don't love insects the way that we can. We're working on them, though. So, this Death's Head is right directly out of the Relaxation Chamber. So I'm going to be taking him out of here. So he comes out just a little wet. Can you see that? So the Death's Head does have a little bit of a sheen to it. You see its leg is kind of sticking out over here. I'm going to try and kind of push the leg back in just a little bit. Let's see. That'll work for me. As long as it goes in the channel, I'm okay with that. I need to slow down a little bit. Deal. I can do that. I still want to have a go in your relaxation chamber. Oh, man. I don't think that it would do what you think it would do, though. I don't think it would be too relaxing for us. So we look at a moth this way, it looks about even. I look at the moth this way, oh no. These moths really like to get pinned at an angle where their abdomen is going to be drooping a little bit. There we go, that's better. All 3 of them I've mispinned a little bit. Their first go. Alright, so when I'm starting these friends here, I want to get my moth as far down into that channel as I can. Ideally, we want the edges of the wings, kind of where the wings are coming out of the body, to be sitting on the top of the ledge here. I'm going to, what has been working well for us in the past was to grab onto the wings with the forceps and then pull the wings up. one more thing. Before we pull the wings, we need to make sure that this body stays straight. So I'm going to go here and put a pin that goes diagonally over top of the body, and then another one in the other direction. So you kind of create this X over top of the body that holds that abdomen in place. And that way, when you pull this wing up, it stays in place. And because my friend said that they wanted to look at the wing a little bit better, I'm going to leave it like this for now. And I will just go ahead and I will leave the pins in the wings for a minute so that you can see the colors. Before I put the paper on them. How about that? So there's our left wing. I'm gonna tuck this leg in a little bit because I don't want the legs sticking up. There we go. Tucked in. Grab this wing. Oops. All right, so now at this point, I want to make sure that the leading edge of the front wing makes a straight 90-degree angle with the body. And I actually have a line that's going to help me with that. So I can make sure that that is 90 degrees from the body. And you can see my left wing is good again. My right wing needs to come down just a little bit. Like that. All right. You'd be surrounded by bugs. I guess that's a true statement. So this is what my relaxation chamber looks like right now. It's just this Tupperware container. It is a series of paper towels with death head sphinx moths in it. And it is, I have rubbing alcohol that I use to relax my moths. I use rubbing alcohol because it evaporates fairly well and it's pretty cheap and it works well. I started relaxing these moths last night at around 10 p.m. and by today at 10 p.m. they were relaxed enough to do this with and not worry about breaking any wings or anything. So I have been sincerely, I think that that has been working really well for me. Yep. No! Don't do that! So the issue with... You had mentioned that you wanted to see the wings a little bit more before I covered them with paper. The issue is that the hind wings, if I don't put the pin in them, they're not going to stay. I'm afraid of ripping the wings. There we go. I'd be pretty happy with that moth if I received it. Alright, right, so I'm going to go in and add our wax paper to our wings. Yes, that is what a death's head sphinx moth looks like. They are absolutely beautiful specimens. They are regularly reared in captivity they are bred to be spread and put in display cases because they're very kind of popular, well known in the insect industry. And so they're recognizable because of Silence of the Lambs. Right? So if you think of that movie, Silence of the Lambs, and you think about that moth that's like in the mouth of the cover, that's a death's head sphinx moth. And so that's where they became popular. I was actually at one of my conferences, and somebody that was also at the conference worked with those death head sphinx moths for the movie The Silence of the Lambs, and he auctioned off the actual rearing cages that they reared the death's heads in for the movie. I thought that was so cool. I didn't have the money to spend on something like that, but it was fun to watch it get auctioned off. No amount of time will ever be enough to get the detail on those forewings. That's fair. Those forewings, a lot of times those forewings kind of remind me of a bark or a little bit like a bark from a tree. And I think that that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to kind of camouflage themselves. I noticed that this hind leg is sticking up, so I'm going to tuck it in a little bit. There we go. I wonder if people are breeding them specifically to enhance the skull shape. That is a great question. I bet you that they are. I'd never even considered that, but I bet you there are people out there who, when they breed them, are mating them together with others that have a more drastic skull shape, because there is such a variety in the skull shapes that to get the perfect skull shape every time, you would definitely have to raise them like that. I'm going back and forth about pulling these antennae out because the antennae are not super impressive, right? So the antennae are kind of short like this. If they were longer, I think I would. What do you think? Do you like the specimen without the antenna pulled up or with the antenna pulled up? So the death's head sphinx moth is not found in the United States. So you're probably not going to find it in your region. I believe they're found through like Europe and then down into Africa a little bit. And then your question about what they eat. I'm sure. I'm looking it up really quick. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what their plan, what their host is. If someone looks it up and finds it for our friend, you could share it with the class. Haha. I do think the antenna make it look more moth-like. All right, I'll pull the antenna. We like it with the antenna? I'm not as concerned about transportation. I was mostly concerned. Well, I guess I'm not concerned. I just wasn't sure if I was going to like it. Sometimes I do make sure all of the antennae are even on butterflies, and sometimes I just let them sit where they are. And moths. But we're pulling this middle one's antenna up. Oh, I got poked with a pin. Ouch. We're pulling this middle one's antenna up too. Might as well. Okay. That's fine. The middle one's antenna may not be all the way even because it messed with the paper, but that's all right. We're doing good. That one actually went really fast. Let's do another one. If these, the method that I use for relaxation, it works really, really quickly. But that also means that if I leave the moths in the relaxation chamber for too long, they will over-relax themselves, and then they will end up they almost start falling apart, like their legs will fall off. Some of their legs are already not doing too great. This one's skull is a little bit more realistic, I think. And the other thing is that as these specimens dry, they do become brighter and brighter. So, our specimen here just came out of the relaxation chamber. He's still a little bit wet. And when these specimens are wet like this, they are just a little bit darker than their natural color. Okay, so we've got our beautiful death head sphinx moth on our pin. We're going to be pulling its leg, this right leg. You can see how it's kind of sticking out. I want it to kind of tuck itself in. So as I'm pressing this moth down into the board, I'm also going to lift and pull its leg and press. Press. There we go. So, my moth is on the board. And it's not even. There we go. No. We're going to do that again. Okay. We are taking our pins wings, we are crossing them over the abdomen to ensure that our specimen stays where it belongs. Grabbing some very, very tiny, minute pins, because those are the ones we're going to be putting into the wings. We want the smallest ones possible so that they make the smallest hole possible. Are they actually soaking in rubbing alcohol or just surrounded by alcohol fumes? They are not soaking. It is not standing liquid. What I do is I take 2 or 3 pieces of paper towel and they put them on the bottom, and I do heavily soak the bottom 2 or 3 paper towels with rubbing alcohol, and then I'll add another piece of paper towel lightly on top of it that's dry. Eventually it'll all soak up in and it'll all become even, but I like to have like a dry one in between those, and then I will put the specimens. I'll put 1 layer of specimens on top, and then I'll take another piece of paper towel and I will get it lightly, I will lightly moisten it with rubbing alcohol. So I'll put just a little bit and I kind of squeeze it together so that it's just kind of lightly damp, and then I put that as the layer. And I use lightly damp paper towels in between layers of moths. And then on the top, I use 1 final lightly one to go on the top, and then some dry ones to hold everything together. So that's what I do. I soak the 2 bottom ones, but then between the layers, I add lightly dampened paper towels. Sometimes I feel like I should start on the bottom of the board and work my way up. And then the other times I feel like I should start on the top and work my way down. I haven't really decided which way is the best method yet. I go back and forth all the time. When I work from the top to the bottom, it's easiest for working on the video camera. But then when I'm going to do something like this, where I have to pull it up, the back of my forceps end up colliding with the pins up here. So I have to be really careful about the angle that I'm grabbing my wings. And then this one, once we get to be about here, it's got a muscle in there that didn't loosen up. So just getting the wing moving a little bit might help with that. Nope. We're going to use a pen. So this wing, there is a muscle at the base of our wing that's having problem opening up. And as I open this wing, you can see that it is kind of bending here. Rather than opening up straight, the wing is bending at this point. So that means that there's a muscle inside of our thorax that hasn't loosened up yet. It hasn't kind of let go. It's still really hard. So it's not letting go right now. I'm going to see if I do the other wing first, that maybe the other side will let go. Or maybe the other side will be just as tricky. We'll see. Alright, so the right wing came up pretty easily. Let's see if we can get this left wing up now. There we go. See, the left wing wanted to follow the right wing, that's all. So, we can go ahead and put my pinning line up here to make sure we're pretty much straight. You guys, we're close enough that I'm not going to mess with it. The right wing might be a little bit higher, but I don't think anybody is going to be looking that close. Not even me. I'm pretty perfectionist when it comes to pinning, but sometimes they're just not worth the battle. Alright, so we've got that hind wing taken care of. It did swing open pretty easily when I grabbed that right vein. And this hind wing is actually kind of curled underneath itself. So we're going to use our dissecting forceps and we're going to kind of open it up a little bit. That's pretty even. And if we look at this line coming from here down here, that's actually a very realistic line. Generally, this angle here is going to make kind of this triangle. If you see the front of the wing to the back of the abdomen on both sides, you're going to have that kind of line. Very, very cool. Alright, so this is my little piece of glassine. I like to take off these little end strips. I wanted to show you that, so I like to take off the little ends because they'll mess up the specimen if you leave them on. If it's kind of, if it's doubled up like that, the difference in the thickness and wax paper does weird things. Alright, I'm going to pull the antenna before I put the wax paper on, before I put the glassine on. So we've got one antenna here. And we have one antenna here. Perfect. Alright. Alright, we are putting the paper on now. So you may have noticed I've been leaving those pins in the wings. That has honestly just been to speed up this process because every now and again when you take those pins out of the wings relax just a little bit and then they move. And if they move and you have to redo it, then then you're adding extra time to your work. And admittedly, I'm going to be trying to see how I can kind of speed up this process or how I can kind of make it, kind of streamline it. That's going to be my goal. But I do want to make sure I press this paper down, especially on this hind wing, because that wing was pretty wrinkly already. You saw we had to kind of flatten it out a little bit. Excuse me. And because we had to flatten it out a little bit, this wax paper is going to be super helpful because it's going to hold it flat exactly how we have it. And it's going to even out the wing a little bit because as the wing dries, it's going to harden and then it's not going to move at all. All right, so we got that one taken care of. Yay! I don't know, we're at 4 today. Why don't we do 5? I think we have enough for one more on the board right here. The container definitely smells like rubbing alcohol. I need to dig stuff out of here really quick. So this is going to be, I believe, our last specimen of the night. Going to take it out of this glassine envelope. The envelope does look kind of wet. That's okay. The specimen inside might be a little wet, but it's relaxed and it's mobile and it will dry. And that's one of the reasons why we use rubbing alcohol is because of the way that it also evaporates so quickly. So these specimens, they do harden pretty quickly after they dry, just because they harden pretty quickly after they dry because the rubbing alcohol evaporates and leaves fairly quickly. Alrighty, so I'm going to be putting this pin through our friend here, and we're going to be doing it above the symbol. If I was doing it for any other purpose, I would be going right through the center of this. But I know that the person I'm doing these for wants it above, so that it doesn't mess with the image. And then making sure that the pin is, ooh, not even. Come on, Trisha. I went even with the head rather than even with the body, and our Sphinx moth's head is kind of turned a little bit. There we go. So sometimes people ask how far up the pin do we leave? I just leave enough space on the top of the pin to be able to pinch grab it. So that's probably less than a ½ inch probably. I do not leave much space on the top of the pins because you need most of the space down here to add your insect labels. Specimens, ideally, they start with 2 labels and then they can gain more. So your first 2 labels are going to be your locality labels, where you collected it. That includes where you collected it, when you collected it, and how you collected it. Or, like, if you collected it in a trap versus collecting it by sweep netting, those types of things are also on those cards. The second label is an identification label. So that is what it is and then who identified it. And then ideally the year that they identified it. Because sometimes those names change. And it's good to know when it was identified so that if the name changes, you can go back to that time. All right, just like we've done for all of the other specimens, we're creating an X at the top of its abdomen. Pushing it down. And then we're going to throw the forceps at it. We're going to pull its wings up. This one is absolutely gorgeous. This one might be my favorite of the bunch. I really, really like the front wings on this one. I like how bright they are in these areas. Alright, so we're going to put this line and make sure I've got it pretty even. Let's see. That looks pretty good to me. Yep. This little red line has been a lifesaver for making sure that my wings stay up, and that my wings are even. It's so much easier to be able to have a camera that looks straight down at the specimen, and I have another, like, you know, my computer screen that I can see the vision, see the see what they're seeing this way. I don't know. It's great. Sorry, guys. It's getting a little late. My sentences are starting to make less and less sense. So we're going to pull these hind wings up, and then we're going to be done for the night. And then the other 7 moths I will be spreading tomorrow. Alright, I like that one. Where's the vein? I don't see it on this one. I don't see the vein on this one. There it is. Something that is striking to me on the, at least on something like the hind wings, the hind wings are not always exactly identical. They're not always the exact same. Sometimes they have this like variation in the colors. So pretty. Super cool, very pretty. I would definitely have to agree. Thank you, Caitlin, for continuing to hang out with us while I'm finishing up spreading these moths. Let's see, we're going to pull these antenna up. Antenna number 1. Antenna number 2. So we've got both of our antenna up. We've got our wings up. Our wings are fairly even. I'm going to pull this left one up just a little bit more. There is a little flaw in this left wing here. That was the way that this specimen came. So there's this little divot on the end of it, and it doesn't look like it was damaged. It more looks like that was something that happened naturally. But either way, we're going to be putting the glassine envelope over top of it to protect it. Now, this one is another one of those that went just a tiny itty-bitty bit off of the edge of our board here. So we're going to make sure that the boards stay nice and safe. Susan, you're still here too! Yay! Thank you, ladies, for staying and hanging out with me. I really like this skull. Oh, this is definitely my favorite one. I think that this skull looks more realistic. It's got this minor flaw here on the hind wing, but you can see the two eyes, the whole cranial area, the nose. That's a pretty cool one. I'm going to have to convince the business that I am doing this for that they should let me keep one for education. Because I don't have a death's head in my collection. So I do see that our leg here is sticking up on both sides. I'm going to just go in here and use my dissecting probe to tuck them into that channel down here. The channel is also really helpful because it holds the legs in place. Ideally, although this channel is just a tiny bit small, so it's a little bit more difficult to get the legs to stay. Are surrounded. They are ready to dry. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Get that wire out of the way. 5 death head sphinx moths that we spread and pinned today. Ooh, I'm pretty happy with them. They're so cool. They have these huge bodies. Their abdomens are so chunky. I was actually kind of surprised when I started opening them up how wide they are. If I knew exactly where I put my ruler last, I would share that with you. But there have been too many turnovers of items on my desk. I'm not exactly sure where the ruler went. We're gonna blame the kitties. I know the cats didn't take them, but alas. Alright. Yeah, that is an excellent skull. That is definitely my favorite one so far. I think that it looks a lot more realistic. I think some of these, they could be a skull, but they're a little less pronounced. This one here at the bottom is skull-like enough to almost be scary. So that's cool. It looks like there's an extra protrusion on the leading edge of the hind wing rather than a notch. Looks like there is an extra protrusion on the leading edge of the hind wing rather than a notch. If we were talking about the hind wing on the left-hand side over here, that hind wing, I think it has some type of like boo-boo. I think that it's it didn't fully form properly because the tip of this wing, it comes out, whereas this wing, it kind of cuts in a little bit, and there's a little indent up here too, and that's why I kind of tucked it underneath the front wing. Yeah, the place where I think, yeah, right here. Yeah, I guess instead of it being an accidental cut in, it could be just a little bit of extra, huh? Where it should kind of come in this way. Maybe that's a little bit of an extra bit of wing. It's possible too. I couldn't tell you. What I can tell you is that I am getting a skosh tired, so we are going to be calling it a night. We got a good number of hours in today, and I'm going to be putting more Sphinx Moths Death's Heads in my relaxation chamber. And we will be doing this all again tomorrow. And then, probably the next handful of days, I think the goal will be to do like 3 or 4 a day until they're done. I did 5 today, maybe we'll do 5. And we'll do the ink drawings, and we'll do Inkvertober, and it's gonna be great. Before I tucked the left hind wing under the forewing, it looked like you could follow the line of the hind wing smoothly along the front edge. Oh! I see what you mean now. I understand what you mean. And I think you're right. I think that that's probably the case. There's a little bit of extra over there. And I don't know why. I think you're right, but I'm not sure exactly why that occurred. I don't know the big difference between the males and the females. If I was going to guess, I would say this one is a female and this one is a male, just by size. See, like, this one down here, she's super, super wide. Her body is protruding, kind of wide. And this one right here is more narrow, more sleek fit. My guess is that this one up here is a male and that this one down here is a female. But that would just be kind of like an entomologist's guess. Just from looking at so many other specimens of other different species of insects, not in particular this species. All right, so thank you, Susan. Thank you, Caitlin, for hanging out with me for the full session. I super appreciate it. We are going to be continuing doing all of these things. Feel free to join me whenever you have a notification that says Trisha's going live, because we'll be doing something buggy, whether it is pinning, whether it is sketching, or going back over. And you know, I believe that some of my specimens that we go back over in ink, I'm probably going to pull them out of the collection. Now, I'm also going to have to pick a day in October to do my entire collection, and we will do like a collection show and tell. so that you can see everything that I have all at once. I think that would be fun. And we'll make sure that that is on the Jack Law's calendar so that everyone who wants to can show up for the collection show all. So, have a wonderful week. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow when I'm pinning, Sunday at 4 p.m. or any of the nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, because I think I'm just going to do it at the same time every night. We'll do it 10 p.m. every night in October. All right. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week or sooner. Bye. Stay buggy.